Hello, everybody. Welcome to the final word, the live new series that we've got here on Talking Wolves. I'm going to be inviting a number of guests from the Wolves community in to the channel after games. If it's a midweek game, it might be about 24 hours after. If it's a daytime game, maybe we'll do it during the evening as well. It's an interactive series, so you guys can obviously let us know your thoughts on what's been said in the comment section down below. We're going to have about 4 guests on today's show. It's going to be about an hour long, but of course you'll be able to watch it back on YouTube as well. We're going to be talking about last night's game against Everton. We're going to be talking about Nuno, what's going on at the moment, and we are going to be talking about the upcoming Black Country Derby as well. So as always, guys, get your comments in the comment section down below. First guest today, you may know of him. It's Tom Rouse, the old Gold and Black. Tom, how you keeping, man?
Hello, thanks for having me on, Dave. It's nice to be back on Talking Wolves. First time in probably nearly a year, almost.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, it's great to have you back. I know things are going pear-shaped to Wolves, and Tom Rouse pops up in my sub box with a video about the situation. I saw that today. So, I mean, we haven't really properly had a chat about this season, Tom, to be fair, for one reason or another. But let's start off with last night's game against Everton. Let's jump straight into it. What were your thoughts on that defeat?
Not surprised, but disappointed with how the game unfolded. I think before the game, I predicted to a friend that we'd lose 3-0. So actually, I think we did quite well. Yeah. But then just some of Nuno's tactics, which I'm sure we'll come on to, and his in-game management is so poor and has been consistently poor for his whole time at Wolves. The lack of squad depth has really been emphasised. I've just listened to the Tim Spears podcast, and it doesn't seem like we're going to sign anybody, which just seems baffling. So I don't know. It just the same sort of deficiencies were highlighted again last night. Poor defensively, Sace not being able to deal with the ball over his head, and then toothless up front. But apart from that, really good.
So not much then. You were a big advocate for the last year or so about a back 4 system. What do you think is going wrong? Why isn't it working at the moment for Wolves?
Well, I knew you were going to ask this because for a long time I was adamant that Wolves should be playing a back 4, and I do think that they should be playing a back 4, but not with Conor Cody and Romain Sace as the back 2. I think Bolly obviously we're missing and would slot into that right hand side of a back 2. And then I'd probably even Kilman or Dendoncker I would go for on the other side of the back 4, just to give us the versatility of being able to get the ball into midfield, but also like a steady, solid pairing at the back. I think Cody last night, I've noticed in particular, was telling Semedo pretty much every single step that he had to take, and he's a liability in himself, Semedo. And then on the other side, Sace is sort of covering Aït-Nouri because he's so inexperienced and so unpredictable. He's really good going forward, but he's not very good defensively. So they're both covering the fullbacks, whereas really, if you're playing a back 4, the fullbacks are 7 out of 10 every week, and then the back 2 are solid. And at the moment, we're not good enough. The players are not good enough to play the system. I think we've got the players in the squad and in the club, but just not in the players who are fit at the minute.
Yeah, I was going to say, because if you look at that, probably I'd say that for every member of that back 4 there, they were signed or we planned to play them in a system with a back 5. Aït-Nouri is an attacking wing back, not a left sort of full back. Semedo the same on the opposite side. Cody, we sort of had our doubts anyway as him as a centre back. I think he's had 1 or 2 decent performances, but we know the middle of that back 3 is his best position. And Sace, he's okay. You know, he's inconsistent, I think. But is he the right centre back or right player to take us to that level that Wolves fans, I think, are expecting? Probably not. So I think that's what we have to consider as well. Obviously, injuries have been absolutely disastrous for Wolves this season, but that back 4 at the moment isn't built for a back 4 system. Johnny, you would argue, would be much better fit, I think, in that system. Bolly as well. We've not really seen much of him in the back 4. I think we've been screaming out for a new centre-back, haven't we, for probably the last year or so anyway. So it's just one of those surprises that we haven't dipped in the market for one, really.
And none of our defenders at all, Bolly aside probably, is a defender who would just clear out that high ball. We haven't got like a big 6'5", 6'6" defender who would just deal with a big ball over the top. And that's if you look at all the goals that we conceded at the moment, or I don't know, 80% of them, they tend to be coming from a big loop and set pieces as well, because we haven't got that big.
Even with the corners where we're playing them short, I know it frustrates everyone, but you look in the box, we just haven't got the height there, really. Again, we're relying a lot on Sace there. Then Donker, I suppose, with his addition, you've added a little bit more height, but at the moment, there's just not enough. We'll move on because obviously there's a big, one of the main talking points this season, like Liam has brought up there, Fabio Silva, bought in the summer for around £35 million. A lot of expectation on him. I don't think Fosun and Wolves are expecting him to chuck him in the first team so often already. But what are your thoughts been on him so far this season?
It's very, very harsh to judge him at all. I think we should just be letting him. I mean, personally, he shouldn't be in the first team squad now. Now that Catroni's back, he should not be starting. He certainly shouldn't be starting on Saturday, because I think I can see him just being bullied by the likes of Ivanovic, and I don't even know the other Albion players, but watch them all have a blinder on Saturday. I'd much rather. I mean, I think that he was obviously brought in as a, one for the future. Fosun investing as they do in 2 or 3 years down the line. Had he have been signed with an undisclosed fee and then thrown into this situation, I don't think that Wolves fans would be reacting in the same way. If he was a British player signed for $5 million, they would be, it'd be all right. Give him a couple of games, let him have a go. But because he's come with this, he's a wonder kid. He's going to be the golden boy for the future. He's Portugal's next hope, next Ronaldo, all this sort of stuff, all this hype. He's 18. If you think back to what you were doing at 18 or what anybody was doing at 18, it's not the same quality as what you're doing now. Or, everybody grows up a lot. And I think it's really, really harsh to judge him in any way. He's had some absolute sitters that he's missed, but in 2 or 3 years' time, he puts them away. His record at under 19 level is amazing. He's only just turned 18 in the summer, so let's give him the benefit of the doubt. I think he's tried his hardest in this period now when Jimenez has been out, but I think it's time now to give him a bit of a rest. I can't believe that we're not going to bring in another striker, but it looks that will be the case. We're not going to bring one in. So it's up to Catroni and Neto and whoever else they decide is, it could be Austin Samuels, as you tweeted earlier.
I think you mentioned it on your video, to be fair, and I saw someone else put it on social media as well. Like you said, like Steve Bull wasn't playing first team football till he was 2021. Raul Jimenez didn't break in at Club America till he was 2021. So, he's a very young player and a lot of weight is being put on his shoulders. And I think it's standard with any football fan. You're always looking for a scapegoat, really. And if you're not scoring goals, you're going to blame the striker, really, aren't you? So,
and it's not like he's broken into the team either. It's been thrust upon him. If he was scoring like every weekend in the under-23s, and we're all clamoring for him to be given a go, then fair enough. We can start slagging him off if he's not performing at this level. But this was thrust upon him. He was getting 5 minutes at the end of every other game or something like that when Jimenez got injured. It's far too early for him, and I know that lots of people have said about his athleticism and that he doesn't look like a footballer. He doesn't run like a footballer. But look at Dendoncker. We get used to that sort of stuff. His movement in the box, I think, is pretty good. He just needs a goal from open play, and I think he'll start to feel a bit more confident then.
Well, an interesting one earlier on, TH Logs, he reckons Nuno out if things don't change. There has been a lot of debate regarding Nuno's job position at the moment. What's your stance on it, Tom? Are you leaning that way, or are you like, don't be silly, like he's absolutely fine?
I can understand why some perhaps younger fans would like change. However, the grass isn't always greener. I can't think of any manager out there who at the moment would improve our squad. It's not like we're in a relegation battle and we need somebody like Tony Pulis or Sam Allardyce to come in and save us. Fosun have only just signed a new contract with Nuno in the summer. So it's one for the future. It's one for 2 or 3 years. I said in my video this morning that I would expect next season to be a transition season as well. I don't think that Fosun would have wanted this one to be, but because of Jimenez's injury and Bolly's injury, Johnny's injury, Dendoncker, all of those players coming out, we've basically been playing with the bare bones. I can't see any situation where Nuno would be sacked this season. I think if we're 12 months down the line and we are really struggling, I'm talking like bottom 6, then I think we can start talking about it. But you've got to give, managers aren't given time nowadays in football to put their mark on a team. Nuno has been given that. He's impressed. We can't complain with anything that we've achieved in the last 4 years under him. He's been superb. But some of his in-game management, as I mentioned earlier on, is very, very questionable. But you've also got to question his coaching staff as well, because surely it's a collective decision, lots of these things, and they must go through game plans and things like that. And they just don't seem to make the right decisions often enough on the field and during games.
There's a few comments about managers that I'd assume people think would join Wolves. Thomas Tuchel, I don't think would join personally. Someone else mentioned Lopetegui again. I don't think he would leave the current Europa League champions. Jesse Marsch, he's a shout, but he's got a very good path to bigger teams across in Germany and so on with the Red Bull thing as well. We've got Joe, who I know of here. If you think Nuno out, you're a short-sighted fan. He's not a Wolves fan, by the way. 3 brilliant seasons and now having a dip. Need to freshen up that central midfield. You can't really rely on Neves and Moutinho. I know you mentioned Wolves really need to try and get a new forward, Tom. Like, who would you be your choice out of either players that have been mentioned or a player that you think would be a good fit at Molineux?
I think from the players that are mentioned and realistic, I think we should have gone all out for Divock Origi. I think my friend who's a Liverpool fan, who also has an interest in Wolves, was saying, why wouldn't you go for Divock Origi? Every time he plays for Liverpool, he makes an impact. He scored in the Champions League final, for God's sake. What more do you need than that? He's still relatively young, so it wouldn't be like signing Diego Costa for 6 months and then hoping that he comes off and then that's really the end of it, or somebody at the end of their career like that. I think he's somebody that could really challenge Jimenez, because I don't think Jimenez is going to come back the same player that he went off with his injury. So, personally, Origi, surely inquiries have been made, and I think Fosun just seemed reluctant to part with any more cash because of the outlays for Semedo and for Fabio Silva at the beginning of the season. I don't think they can afford really to put their hand in the pocket for what I imagine Liverpool is probably 20-25 million they want for Origi. And they can't guarantee that he's going to come off, and they can't guarantee that he's going to be a long-term member of the squad either.
I've got a feeling that I think this will be, I referenced this on Twitter, the whole Catrone situation. We've brought him back into the squad, and I think Nuno's obviously going to have a look at him. And it was similar when we were in the Championship. We won the Championship, brought Rafa Mir in as like a backup for Bonatini. It wasn't good enough after a couple of weeks, and we brought a phobia in literally one of the last minutes of deadline day. I think this will be similar. I can see us going for someone like Origi or someone like Josh King very late in the transfer window, especially Josh King. His contract's up at the end of the season. I think at the moment Bournemouth want 10 million. If it gets to deadline day and they've not sold a player that's out of contract, they're going to probably take a few million for him. So I think that's probably the type of situation. But also with coronavirus going on, we don't know, the season could be null and void in the next couple of weeks. It'd be sod's law that Fosun spend 30 million on a striker and the season gets cut short. So I think that's what they're very careful. I think as long as we can sort of keep our heads above the water this season, we could see some serious spending come summer, as long as the situation's calmed down slightly, really. So it's going to be intriguing, really. But looking ahead to the West Brom game as well, Tom, what you thinking ahead of that one? I mean, on paper, you think Wolves should win. I've got West Brom fans saying the same thing to me, but we've seen our recent performances. We just don't know what's going to happen, do we?
So me and my dad went for a walk the other day and bumped into an Albion fan, and he said that he would bite our hands off for a 2-0 defeat. But
wow.
I mean, I can't. I'm feeling really negative. I used to feel really negative when we were playing them fairly regularly, but even though our squad on paper is far better in every position than the Albion, I'm sorry to swear on your podcast, but if we play, those games that we've had like Villa in the Championship or United in the Cup, when you just know from the first couple of minutes the way that they start playing, the way they start passing the ball really quickly and crisply to each other, you just know that we're going to have a good result. I can't see us playing in that positive manner at the minute. We haven't played in that sort of way for I mean, since there were fans in the ground, really, you're looking back to sort of Espanyol in February was the last time we really saw Wolves play well and take a team to the sword. We don't do it with fans at home. We don't seem to be able to play in that same passionate way. And I can see it really fizzling out into a really boring 0-0 draw because Big Sam will come and put everybody behind the ball. We can't break teams down like that. We've really struggled. We haven't got the intuition to beat players around the back or do quick 1-2s. We just don't seem to be able to do that. And I can really, I mean, I'm sorry to be really negative, but I can see us drawing 0-0.
And obviously, with their current injury situation at the moment, if we could have one player back for that West Brom game, who would you choose out of that injury list? Including Adama and
well, I was going to say, yeah, so I was going to say Adama or Podence. Probably Adama more so because him against Ivanovic is not even a contest. And I think, yeah, so Adama probably, but because I'm not worried about the defence on Saturday, he says, before we lose 3-0. But I'm not, and I think we've got the better of them in the midfield. It's just that their defence and the way that they will defend will be, we need some pace or we need something different than what we had against Everton.
Yeah. Well, Tom, thanks a lot for joining us today. Hopefully we'll see you after the upcoming games. Obviously, if anyone wants to check out your YouTube channel, best place to find it.
Don't bother. Have a look for my podcast called "Show Us Your Kit." That's it's recently charted 199th in soccer-based UK podcasts. So go and check that out.
There you go, Tom. Thanks a lot for joining us, man. I'll see you.
No problem.
See you, man.
See you soon, Dave.
Bye bye. Well then, guys, that was Tom Rouse, our first guest. Guys, appreciate the support so far. We will continue on with our second guest now. Be sure to keep your comments coming in and hitting the like button and subscribing to the channel if you haven't already. Very close to 8,000 subscribers. So we've got our next guest now. We've got Mr. Tom Parker. Two Toms. Yes. Tom, how's it going, man?
Yeah, not too bad. A little bit downbeat from last night's result, to be honest. But having said that, to be honest, I'd forgotten Everton were top four. So
they are, yeah. I mean, I think everyone saw those sort of early injury issues for Everton. Calvert-Lewin, Allen, Richarlison, who didn't start. I think some of us were rubbing our hands together, hoping to get a result. That wasn't quite the case, was it?
Yeah, no, I think it was always going to be difficult for us to get a positive result, particularly in the way that we're sort of playing at the moment. But I've seen worse. I've seen us get relegated twice in a row. It's not too bad, I guess.
What do you think's going wrong at the moment, though, Tom? Why aren't Wolves getting points and winning games?
Where to start? I think, to be honest, it's been the recruitment. I think this has probably been coming for a while. I think a season like this has probably been sort of bubbling since probably the start of last season, where we had quite an underwhelming summer.
Yeah.
Like Patrick Choney didn't work out. Jesus Vallejo, I mean, we don't even need to talk about him. He was absolutely dreadful. And it's sort of just been like since then, the first season of recruitment and then the first season back in the Premier League as well, recruitment was probably some of the best that we'd seen. But since then, it's just really sort of been very hit and miss with the players that we've brought in. Podence has made a huge impact, Pedro Neto as well. But we're seeing more and more. I think the small squad has come back to shoot us in the foot, which was probably our biggest worry as fans. I think being like I said in my match review as well for the Everton game, our defence is so passive. They don't attack crosses enough. Everyone looks nervous to actually sort of do anything, really. It's frustrating.
I know you get a lot of comments, Tom. I'm just going to bring this up about you looking like Harry Potter. I hope you don't mind it because there is a lot of comments.
Oh yeah, no. I don't mind it at all. Like I get it. The circular glasses, it makes sense. You should have seen the last pair that I had.
Well, did they have the little plaster in the middle as well?
No, they were like the big square ones, but they were like far too big for my head. So I had to get one that suited me a bit better.
Yeah. I know we get a lot of comments. I'll bring it up.
He's magic, you never know. I might get a chant in the South Bank one day.
But I mean, we were talking about to Tom Rouse earlier about the situation regarding Nuno at the moment. I know, I mean, you've been a big part of the fans react, and you can sort of see your reactions and emotions with Nuno sort of doing that. But there are some fans that are just really disappointed with the situation, and even leaning towards that. Should Nuno be going? What's your stance after recent weeks?
Well, I got a bit of stick in the comments on one of them in particular. I think someone did actually call me Harry Potter. Surprise.
Yeah.
And he seemed to think that I was Nuno out, even though I'd specifically stated at the start of the review, I'm by no means Nuno out. I'm not naive enough to think that sacking him is gonna. Yeah, thank you. I appreciate the support on the glasses. At least no one's calling me like Clapters or anything. I bet you they'll say that now.
Yeah. I'm sure.
Yeah, no. It has been wavering. A lot of people will probably think that I'm Nuno out by some of the things that I say, but I just question a lot of his decisions, particularly this season. So many mistakes, substitutions coming on far too late, waiting until something happens in the game to actually make a change instead of thinking, right, 65 minutes, it's 1-1, let's whack on Vitinha, let's get someone, to try and at least unlock the game. And I think it also baffles me that, every press conference, every post-match interview, he says, solutions are in the squad. I trust the young players. He then proceeds to bring on Keanu Hoover at right wing for reasons only known to him, instead of maybe Corbianu. Or I was really happy to see Meriton Shabani on the bench because I've seen him quite a few times for under-23s, and I think that he's just far too good for under-23s football. So disappointing not to see him as well, to be honest, because I was hoping that he would maybe get a bit of a run out, considering he looked decent against Reading, but obviously then got that injury that put him out for quite a while. So I am very much Nuno in. I don't know how I'll feel after the West Brom game. But no, I certainly won't be Nuno out. I don't think there's anyone else that can really make a difference. I think any other manager with the squad that we've got at the moment would struggle. Having a squad of about 18 first-team players and having about 7 of those injured doesn't help. But I will say that the tactical decisions have been so poor this season, uncharacteristically poor, I should say, not charismatically, uncharacteristically poor, because a lot of them just don't make any sense. I mean, playing Otasari at false 9 at some points, it's just like, what is going on? I really don't know what's happened this season. It's just someone had posted something really quite interesting about the regression in the past 6 months to where we were towards the end of last season to where we are this season, squad-wise and position-wise, points-wise as well. We lost 9 games, I think, last season. We've lost 8 already this season. I think defensively, which is what Nuno builds his teams upon, we've been shocking. Really poor. I haven't seen us defend this badly since Nuno's come in. We just look completely lost. They'll be kicking themselves, I think, that they didn't spend big on Ruben Dias, because he looks unbelievable for Man City. And the fact that we were solidly linked with this guy for 2 years and we didn't get him is a bit frustrating.
Some release clause as well. It's not like, they outpriced us. He had a release clause of about 50 odd million.
Yeah, looks a steal now. I mean, City could probably double the money they've made off him if he continues performing the way he has this season. It's a bit of a confusing one. All this hype about Wolves 4.0, where's that gone, eh?
Yeah,
it's just completely evaporated.
Yeah, I know. Well, like you said, with the defensive parts, really, it's the clean sheets as well. It's the non-existent. Whereas I think last year we were up there with one of the highest amounts of clean sheets in games, really. Yeah, and the fact that we kept one in the last 11 games, is it, or something like that?
Well, I think we've fallen behind 10 times from the last 11 games, or something stupid like that, which is just ridiculous. I just don't understand how we've just become so just weak. I think we're just a bit weak, a bit spineless sometimes. There just doesn't seem to be the same fight. I remember before, you'd go 1-0 down, 2-0 down, you think, right, we've still got a chance. We've still got a chance to get back in the game. We go 1-0, 2-0. If we go 2-0 down this season, I think most of fans would sort of write that game off as if, right, we're not going to get back into this. It's 2-0. It's game over. And that's the difference. It's just there's so much lacking from this team this season. I think, however, the point about the injuries that people, I know I said it, I'm probably going to contradict myself, but we had pretty much a fully fit squad and we were still playing pretty bad at the start of this, pretty terribly at the start of the season. I mean, we lost 4-0 to West Ham. Let's not forget that game. And that was with our so-called strongest 11, apart from Johnny. Mm-hmm. So whether it's going to make that much of a difference is yet to be seen. But I mean, let's be honest, we are in relegation form at the moment. So it is pretty concerning. And I think that the fact that Fosun have said that they're not looking to really sign anyone is a bit of a, I don't know. I can understand why they've done it, because with COVID, teams are going to sell high. They're not going to want to sell players on a cheap. Brexit, the new rulings that have come in for them, really hampers us in terms of signing young players. So, yeah, I can understand why it's a lot difficult, because if you've built your whole scouting regimen on signing young players and then this point system comes into play, which means that you can't really sign those targets anymore, it's it is concerning. Obviously, it's going to be another sort of switch up in the scouting department. But I think Jeff Shee has sort of not really taken much flack for this. I think he needs to sort of questions need to be asked of Jeff Shee as well, because we haven't replaced our head of scouting. We haven't replaced Laurie Dalrymple. Ever since he's gone, communication between the club and the fans has just been non-existent. I think that's probably part of the reason why I think fans are a little bit weary at the moment, or it's probably the biggest disconnect between the club and the fans since Nuno's come in. Because I remember the first season when Laurie Dalrymple was there, even back in the Premier League, there was constant communication going on. Fans knew what was going on. Jeff Shee and Laurie were going to the pub with fans, Derby away. And all of a sudden, that just seems like the past couple of seasons, it just seems to be getting worse and worse and worse. And all the comments coming in about director of football is 100% correct. We don't have anyone in the club that has any semblance of extensive football knowledge. And Jeff Shee can't do anything by himself. He probably likes to think he can, but for me, he doesn't have enough experience in football. He's only been in football for as long as Fosun have been here. So for me, he needs to have questions asked of him as well.
Yeah, we've got a question coming in from Mouldy. He said, are you even looking forward to Wolves games now? As in, are you getting excited on match day and turning on the TV to watch Wolves play? Are you still getting that buzz?
It's an interesting question, because I've said this to my flatmates quite a few times. It feels like a chore sometimes, because I do so much. Because I do so many. There you go. Little. And to be fair, you're doing well on the Football Manager save. So
yeah, get me in.
Exactly. I've said quite a few times it feels like a chore, and because I do the majority of, especially over the past few weeks, I've done the majority of the match reviews. So obviously I have to watch the games to do the match reviews. And yeah, a lot of our performances, they're just so flat. There's no energy, there's no urgency. It almost feels like we have to concede before we really start to react. And again, I said this in the Everton match review, fans react. Substitutions, it's just so late. I mean, why are we bringing on Vitinha with 5 minutes to go when we're
not going to make any impact, is he?
Yeah. Everton have brought on Coleman. They're going to sit back. They're going to defend with a low block. Vitinha doesn't have the experience to be able to do that. We don't have players that can break down a low block. That's the problem. We tend to rely on teams coming forward and hit them on the counter. So, no, it's just frustrating, really. Catrone coming on with 15 minutes to go, even though Fabio Silva really struggled, unfortunately. I do feel sorry for him, to be honest.
Yeah.
Because he's not really had a...
He's in that same situation, really, though, isn't he? People were judging him on 5 minutes performances when Raul was fit, and like Vitinha, we've got an option to buy him, but how are you going to convince fans he's worth the money if you're giving him 5 minute cameos when you're 2-1 down and chasing a game?
that's the thing. It's like when I came on the podcast a couple of months ago and we were rating the signings, and I rated Vitinha a 6 purely for the fact that I think I said then, I was like, I'm not sure if it's going to pay off. 20 million is our option to buy for this guy, and he's barely played. It makes you wonder. I think that there's been some sort of disagreement between Nuno and Jeff Shee. I really do, because all of the interviews leading up to the transfer window, Nuno was like, we have to rebalance the squad. We have to bring people in. He was insinuating that we were going to make signings. Then all of a sudden, within the last week, his tone has completely changed. And it's been like, our solutions are in the squad. We have to work with what we have. And the solutions are available to us. Now, for me, that's just like, that's the ick with me at the moment, is what is going on behind the scenes. Seriously, what is going on? We have no clue as fans as to... Wolves have been a very secretive club since Fosun have come in. The transfers, basically, we only know about it until like an hour before they're announced, or the day before they're announced. It's a bit eerie, is probably how I'd describe it. It's just something's off. And I think as fans, you can tell when something's not quite right. And I think that his complete change in tack in post-match interviews has probably shone a bit of a light into the fact that he probably hoped he would have money to sign players, but that hasn't been the case.
Well, one question to finish us off, Tom. Looking ahead to the West Brom game, we've got a question here from Neto. Season. I assume that's what SZN means. Question for both of you: Catrone or Fabio to start for West Brom? Against West Brom. For me, it's easily Catrone. Fabio is useless. I can't compare age because Aït-Nouri is much better.
Catrone, 100%. I think Fabio Silva just needs a bit of time out of the team. His confidence is clearly shot. There's no you see it with some of his shots on goal. There's just no conviction in there. He's got all the signs of a striker that's sort of just lacking the confidence at the moment. I think that he needs some time in the under-23s, to be honest. I don't think it's, I know it would be a bit harsh to put him in the under-23s considering how much we paid for him. But if it's just to, get him playing and scoring goals and just getting sort of a feel for it, building up his physicality, I think, Catrone needs to start against West Brom. I'm still not completely convinced that he's going to be the answer, but we can all sort of hope that he will be. I think that with consistent game time, his goals to minute ratio is good, so there's no reason why he shouldn't be any good. So we'll have to wait and see. But definitely Catrone. He's got the work rate for a derby. So
fingers crossed. Fingers crossed.
Yeah, definitely him.
Well, thanks a lot, Tom, for popping on today. Of course, you guys can catch Tom. He's writing out a lot of the match reports or match ratings on the website, and obviously on the Fans React as well. And I'm sure we'll see him again on the Final Word in the near future. Tom, thanks a lot. And
thanks for having me on.
Mate. See you soon.
Take care.
See you, mate. Right then, guys. So 2 guests done. We're about halfway through. Appreciate all the comments coming in. Obviously, as soon as you've got questions, they will be popping up on the screen. Time for our next guest, though. As always, guys, be sure to keep hitting that like button and subscribe. Very close to 8,000 subscribers. And we have got Mr. Finners. Finn, how's it going, man?
I'm all right, thanks, mate. How are you?
Yeah, all good, thank you. All good. As you can see, talking a lot about Everton, Nuno, and West Brom ahead of that game. Lots of comments coming in as well, so I'm sure we'll have some embarrassing questions or comments throughout your half hour on there. How you keeping anyway, mate? You okay?
I'm getting by, mate, to be honest. I'm not, as I said to you on the message, I'm not looking great. I think people call me Harry Potter with the, this is flipped. I've got the scar, mate. I'm getting by. To be honest, mate, to caveat this with what we're going to talk about, I can see football stopping soon. It's the one thing I've got left at the moment to enjoy, and I can see it going soon. But apart from that, just standard lockdown life, innit? A lot of FIFA, a lot of Football Manager.
Love to see it. Someone's called you Finny. Yes, Finny. I don't think I've ever heard anyone call you Finny. It's a new one.
My mum has a few times, mate.
Sam said stick fingers up front. I mean, I've seen him play. Be up there with Fabio Silva, to be fair. You never know. Anyway, Finn, obviously defeat last night against Everton. Disappointing one. Wolves left in 14th place in the league at the moment. What were your thoughts after that defeat last night?
It was a really confusing one because I don't think we deserved to lose. But if we'd have won, I think I'd have been like, bloody hell, we got away with one there. It wasn't a good performance, but I also felt quite deflated at the final whistle. Like, I don't know whether you saw the expected goals, we were like, Everton's was like 0.2, ours was 1.2, whether people give any sort of credibility to that, where it shows we were unlucky, or that we can't finish maybe. But it was a really confusing one. And then you look at the tables there, I think Tom was just saying that Everton are in fourth, but to me, it wasn't like that. It was like, we probably should be getting something out of this game, because on the face of it, if you lose to a team in fourth place, especially when you're in 14th, it's like, I suppose that's expected. But a really strange game. I couldn't quite figure it out. It took me a while to sit and process. It was like, was that unlucky? Were we really bad? Were we really good? It's just, I think we're just toothless at the moment, and that's the main thing. And equally, when you're conceding 2 goals from an expected goals of 0.2, there's something going wrong at the back. And there's one that I haven't seen mentioned a lot, and I don't know what you think about it or what people would say in the comments, but Patricio is the best shot stopper I've ever seen as a Wolves goalkeeper, but everything else that's needed for a goalkeeper, he's probably the worst. His communication, there was one in his 6-yard box, a cross came in, and he just doesn't come for him. Mate, honestly, it frustrates the life out of me. As a shot stopper, he's unbelievable. He's perfect in the Portuguese league or whatever, but in England, we're conceding from a lot of crosses, and I can't say he should have come for that keen one, because he shouldn't. But I think people are putting in crosses against us, because it's like, he ain't going to come here. He isn't going to clear people out to get that ball. Do you know what I mean? And it makes me feel nervous every time. I think the communication isn't quite there.
Well, we saw a return in the squad for Morgan Gibbs-White as well. Wanderers 666 in the chat thinks he was awful. I had a few people thought he had a good first half. What did you think about his performance?
It's hard to. He wasn't great. We can say that to begin with, but I think it's not fair on him. I think on the graphic initially, everyone was saying, why stick him out on the wing? It didn't appear to be that. It seemed to be shifted Fabio out wide, but equally in a false 9 with no one really in front of him, it's not his position. We will see the best out of Gibbs-White when there's either 2 strikers or 1 striker directly in front of him, and he can have that role to just do what he wants, really, not be sort of the false 9. It just didn't work. And I do feel sorry for him, because in however many games he's played for Wolves, it's got to be touching, 20, 30 of actual appearances, subs and
Probably
whatever.
More than that. I bet you'd be surprised about how many games he's played, yeah.
And how many of them have actually been in his favoured position, with the right people around him. And I do feel sorry for him, because I think there is definitely a player there, isn't it? We saw at Swansea in the limited time he had there, who's brilliant in that specific place. Are you getting the stats off? Is it how many he's played?
I mean, a lot of sub appearances, 54 first team games he's had for Wolves.
Wow.
Yeah.
And 1 goal.
Yeah. But like you say, there's well, if we're counting Europa League, 72 games with cup games in there. So it's a lot of, approaching 100 games already in a Wolves shirt. That is ridiculously, I bet you a lot of people are surprised at that. But like you say, I was, not excited, but I was, I would welcome him back into the squad, because like you say, when we're in the Championship, we didn't play. We played with like a flat 2 midfielders. We've never really played with a proper number 10 up until this season, and this was his chance, really. And then obviously with the injury of Adama yesterday, I'd assume he wouldn't have Adama. I mean, Morgan wouldn't have started if Adama was fit. Played like a false 9. It just didn't make any sense when he hasn't got anyone in front of him. There were so many players there out of position. I think as a winger, although it wasn't his strongest position, he should have played there yesterday. Neto on the left and Morgan on the right, maybe. But who knows? It didn't quite go to plan. Obviously, we're having a lot of comments about Nuno and his position as manager at the moment. A lot of people say Nuno in, a couple of people say Nuno out. What's your stance on the whole situation at the moment?
I'm in all day, mate. I mean, I've got probably, if he was a manager that came in this season, we'd all be saying stuff different, but got a lot of loyalties to him. And equally, I don't think there's anyone that could come in with that squad. The thing is, you could say if another manager was in, we wouldn't have that squad, because by design, he has said small squad. And now we've got a small squad that's it's the bare bones. And then if a manager came in now, whatever, and there was no one came in the transfer windows, who can do something with that? With literally like 12 players and then a load of kids. And there's 2 sides, because on the other side, I can see why people would say, well, he said have a small squad, and he says we'll trust the youth. But when do you see? I mean, Otasowi's come on a few times, and Kilman's come through. Fair enough. But he trusts them to sit on the bench, but he never trusts them to come on. Corbianu's suited on the wing more than Fabio Silva is, or whatever, sticking him on the left wing or the right wing. And he doesn't. So it's like, fine if you can trust him to sit there. But if you're going to say you're going to trust him, give him a go, sink or swim. Do you know what I mean? See if they're any good.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, yesterday was a perfect example of that. I cannot understand why Corbiano didn't come on. The only reason I can think that maybe a couple of these young players aren't being risked is because Wolves have got loan moves possibly lined up for them. And if they bring them on and get injured, then maybe. But at the same, like, what's the point of this? Buying all these young players, having an under 23 system, if we're not going to utilize it properly. I can understand, like, Fosun's point of view. They're wanting to build this sort of City group type, franchise where we're buying young players and selling them on for serious profits. But at the same time, they've got to be given opportunities. On the flip side, we're not seeing them in training. We don't know what the quality is like in training. Some of these young players may be smashing it at 23 level, but genuinely can't even touch that Premier League first team level, really. So it's just one of those a difficult position. Michael Bibber said you're 100% spot on, Finn. 3 players have broke through the academy. Nuno gone. If we get anything less than a win against Albion, I can't see that happening. Can you? I can't see that happening.
But the thing is, like, in the 3 years that we've had, there's never been a sort of massive wobble. Maybe the start of last season. Why is it now? You know what I mean? Why is everyone injured now on the game that's coming up to be West Brom? First season, second season, we'd have battered them. And now I'm not confident in the current situation that we're in. It's typical, but maybe by the second game, to be like, why am I thinking that we might not win this one and then maybe the second? We got to. We have got to. But then again, if we lose, I still wouldn't be saying sack him. But it's just sod's law, isn't it?
Robert has said, do you two think that if we lose to Albion, we would be in a relegation battle?
If we win against Albion, I think we can go. Is it 12, like 11th, 12th? You know what I mean? And then you're looking above. It's just the momentum. So obviously, if we do lose, then people will be looking down. If we win, people start looking up. And I mean, Arsenal were in a relegation battle. Now people are going, can they get top 6? And that's 2-3 wins in a row. Then I can't see us getting 2-3 wins in a row because after this West Brom game, I don't think our fixtures are that nice at all in the next 5 or 6. But no, yeah, you get a few points here or there, and we'll be fine. We should be fine unless this gets clipped up and we go down. But there's 3 teams worse than us. There's got to be, sure.
Yeah, well, that's what I said as well. I think we're quite fortunate at the moment that you've got the Fulhams, the West Broms, Brighton, Sheffield United as well. Obviously, only just picked up their first win there last time out. Yeah. It's a message that has come up a lot regarding the game against West Brom on Saturday, and we've had another one there. Would you start Catrone or start Fabio Silva against West Brom on Saturday?
Well, I caught the point that Tom said just before he left and I joined in about Catrone being a derby player, and I see that all day long. I can also see Sam Allardyce saying, it's sort of, if he does start, tickle him on the neck or give him a little kick, and maybe there's a red card in there because he does like to play on the edge, doesn't he? But I think that's what we need. I think you're going to see that extra commitment. You're going to see him, I don't know, like there was one with Silva where the ball came in, he didn't even go to attack it. I think you need a play like that in a derby. And I'd go Catrone. Not necessarily because I think he's a world beater, but out of the 2, the lesser of 2 evils. Is that fair to call it lesser of 2 evils? But as in best out of a bad situation, I think I'd personally go Catrone. What would you do?
I think he will go Catrone, but what about maybe if Adama is still not fit? What would you start? Maybe a 4-3-1-2. So keeping that midfield 3, Neto in behind Catrone and Fabio Silva, maybe.
That is the option, or just a 4-4-2, mate. Get a Neves, Dendonka, who could. I suppose you got no right mid here, but yeah, good point.
That's what I mean. If you ain't got the wingers, get Neto as number 10. John Ruddy. If no one's watched the fans react from last night, you have to watch it and watch out for Deo's. About halfway through the video, Deo's reaction. Yeah,
that take you a while.
Which one?
Bleep, with editing it.
You know what? I don't normally watch them through. And yesterday I watched it through and I was shocked. I had to watch it about 6 times. I missed about 3 out as well. So, absolutely brilliant. Henry has said Catrone has got a point to prove as well. He certainly has. I mean, in his small cameos, he's done okay for the time he's had, but he's got himself about a little bit, but not being unbelievable just yet. I think, again, he's in that same situation as Fabio Silva where I think he needs a goal. And he might be all right. And to finish us off, someone said Deo needs to be on here tonight. We'll get him on, I'm sure, sometime soon. Timo the Great, what are your opinions on Semedo so far? Tom Rouse didn't speak too highly of him towards the start of the stream, but what do you think?
I think yesterday was sort of showcased everything about him. His dribbling is unbelievable when he's on the ball, but everything else. And you wouldn't say necessarily a wing back, full back. That's not really their main thing to dribble. So I don't see where you would sort of. I don't know how he's become a right back, if you know what I mean. Maybe in a Barcelona system where he doesn't have to do much defending.
Yeah.
But for me, like on these videos, I campaigned for. I thought Corona would have been the perfect right wing back, and I think someone's going to get him for that release clause that's rumored of a lot less than we paid for Semedo. But I don't know. I don't want to turn him in. I've still got him in my FPL team, Semedo, because I feel like he's going to come good. I can see the point where his defending, especially we saw it yesterday, it wasn't necessarily an easy one to deal with, but the ball over his head, it's very easy, and I think people are targeting that he's not conscious, like spatial awareness isn't great. And I think especially it affects Adama with Semedo not playing great, because I watched Wolves put out a video of it was something with Adama on or something, and I was thinking his relationships. Sorry to caveat from the Semedo thing, but his relationships last season were him and Doherty, him and Jimenez, and he's lost both of them. And I think it's going to take a while to see the best out of Adama, equally the best out of Semedo, and equally whoever plays up front as well. It's going to take time, because those relationships came over like 2 or 3 years, and it's just a shame. It's not. I don't know. It's a high pressure environment now. It's not a sort of no one's okay with the transition, are they really? I personally am, because I think the season's going to be stopped in a few weeks, and if we went and splashed money on a lot of people now, like people are demanding, I think we'd be really regretting it. As you said before, if we went and splashed the cash and then you're paying him 100 grand a week, whoever it is, and then we're paying it for 6 months. Corona stops football. Football comes back. Jimenez is back, and you've got 2 mega earning strikers. So who knows what's going to happen? But to answer, Semedo, not great.
Yeah. To finish us off, there's been a question about today's rumour. Would you sign Oxmall from Swindon? I had to put it. I knew there was going to be at least one of them. I'm not falling for it.
Do you know he's from as well?
What? Yeah, Big Scott. Scott Chegg. Yeah, brilliant. Finn, thanks a lot for jumping on. Are we going to get a video on the Everton game, or are you giving that one a miss?
Oh, mate, I can't be bothered. I look like this. I was like, we weren't in the mood. My sister left halfway through.
The views are down.
Maybe the West Brom. Yeah. Oh, yeah, mate, there's no point until we sign Corona. But no, West Brom, I promise. Whatever happens, everyone.
You know what? I'll even get involved in that one. I'll make sure I do my fans react to you on that one as well.
Yeah, go on. We'll do that.
I'll get in. Perfect. Finn, thanks a lot for jumping on, mate. I'm sure we'll see you very soon, mate. Nice one. All right, guys. So there's Finn. We're moving on to our final guest. I mean, I like that rumour there. What was it? Oxmall from Swindon. Brilliant. Lots of suggestions about players that we should sign. Right, we're going to move on to our next guest now. We've got Mr. Harry Mansell. Harry, how's it going, mate?
Really good, mate. That made me laugh then. I was just laughing my head off about the using down when Darcy's not on the stream. Yeah, really good, mate. Thank you. Thanks for having me on.
No problem, mate. No problem. We've had a few of the other boys on, obviously giving their thoughts on the Everton game, the situation with Nuno. I mean, I'm going to start with the situation with Nuno, to be fair, because I've spoken to you about it. And you are very much Nuno in, aren't you? You are very much in that camp.
Oh, man. Yeah, mate, 100%. And it does frustrate me when I see the backlash after a disappointing result. 2 sevenths, obviously got promoted in the Championship, got us into the Europa League. Yes, sometimes his formation with the 5 at the back can be frustrating and it can be boring to watch, especially at the beginning of this season. But he always seems to bounce back. And this season, at the moment, right now, he's been so unlucky with injuries, and you can't deny that. And for us now to just start jumping on his back when he's got an injury crisis, and obviously we're not bringing players in, it don't seem like anyway, in the transfer window. Just for fans to turn on him that quick, when he was loyal to us as well. There was Everton interest I remember when he tweeted out the little wolf head to say he was staying. There was the Arsenal interest, which he completely snubbed off. So I think it's really, really premature to be actually questioning whether Nuno should be the Wolves manager. And it actually upsets me a bit that a lot of Wolves fans, it seems like, actually want to see him go, which is absolutely crazy in my eyes.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure. I think we're both the same. It's that if you got rid of him as well, who is there actually out there to bring in and improve the current team? I can't see there isn't anyone, is there?
No, well, was it? Everyone kept saying Pochettino, didn't they? At one point, yeah. No, mate. No.
Oh, look, he's just gone to one of the biggest teams in the world. It was pretty obvious that was going to happen.
Exactly. It's just, and that's the thing as well. I think because Wolves fans have been quite spoiled over the last few years, and obviously we've got wealthy owners now. It's kind of like fans just think we can get any player we want and any manager we'd want if we'd got rid of Nuno or something. So they've got to be a bit realistic. And with the group of players we've got, they're all Nuno's players, really, aren't they? So I don't know. I can't see anyone coming in and doing much better, especially in the current situation with the injuries we've got. It's just mad, really.
We've got a good one there. Someone reckons Louis Van Gaal. Blooming heck. That is a bit of a throwback, yeah, that one.
Bloody hell.
We've got a good question there, Harry, from Finley. What would it take? So what would the situation have to be for you to turn on Nuno?
I think if it was just Raul Jimenez was injured and we had everybody else available, like none of the first team players are like injured, and we were literally scrapping for relegation, we were looking like we were going to go down, and we did go down, then maybe I'd be like, yeah, okay, fair enough. But as I've said, at the moment with the injuries, nah. But yeah, that's it really. If we had like everyone at our disposal, no injuries, and he had everyone he wanted, and then we were down the bottom, then I'd be like, okay, fair enough. Let's look into changing him, but not right now.
Yeah, and obviously we had a defeat yesterday against Everton, 2-1 defeat, disappointing game. Both teams struggling with injuries as well. What was your thoughts overall on that match?
Well, initially when I saw the team and I saw Gibbs White was in for Traore, I was like, my God, what's going on here? And obviously he had a knock, so that was really disappointing. And my expectations going into the game when I saw that was like, I don't think we're going to win this game. But obviously it was a nightmare start, absolute nightmare start. A good move from them, but it was a bit annoying that Iwobi was just left there in the box. And we responded really well, didn't we? Really well, especially the first half. Got the goal back. Neves was man of the match for me. He was absolutely brilliant. Could have had a couple of goals, to be honest. And just second half, mate, it was just, I don't know. He was terrible. He brought Catrone on too late. They'd scored, and then he brought him on. Yeah. And then up front, Fabio Silva, he was left wing at times. I don't know what was going on there. Gibbs White was in the middle. I don't know why. He was basically up front. And I think he should have had Fabio for the middle with Gibbs White sitting in behind. But he just didn't do that. And we created a few chances, but Fabio Silva's confidence is absolutely shot, isn't it? I don't think it helps the backlash he gets on social media at the moment either. And that's not going to help him at all. And yeah, it was really disappointing, mate. But good result for Everton, wasn't it? I think they're fourth, aren't they now with that?
Yeah, I think they'll be very happy with that result. I think with the chances or lack of chances they created, really a little could argue it's a bit of a smash and grab for them, really. You know, with the lack of opportunities that they created. I know we've talked about the West Brom game in little parts with some of the others, but not touched on it too much. One thing that I want to say, probably you and Tom are obviously, not to be rude, slightly older than Tom Parker and Finn. So I think you and Rouse will probably know this derby a lot more than someone like myself. You know, the last time we played Albion, you know, I was only, to make everyone feel old, like 12 or 13. You know what I mean? So yeah, I'm sure you and Rouse probably know what this rivalry is, you know, and feels like a lot more, wouldn't you? Than maybe most of football Twitter nowadays.
Yeah, so like when we played Albion the most, like under McCarthy and that, I was at high school. So obviously when you're in school and a lot of your mates are Albion fans, it's like a bitter rivalry, isn't it? It's the biggest rivalry by far. I don't care what anyone says. And the fact they absolutely smashed us 5-1 the last time out. I remember I walked out at 3-1. I had a season ticket in the Bullupper at the time. And when was it Keith Andrews when it scored?
yeah, that was him. Yeah,
I walked out, and we need revenge. But unfortunately, at the beginning of the season, I was very, very confident we were going to get that revenge and quite easily. But right now, I'm very worried. I've got a feeling Big Sam's going to turn up and just sit back and grab a goal off a set piece and just stink the place out. I'm really worried, but we need revenge. It's a huge derby. They always seem to get the better of us as well. Like the head-to-head record in the last 20 years, they must be ahead. Like surely, like they must be. It feels like we hardly beat them.
Yeah, it's well, like you say, the serious revenge. And I've spoken. One of my best friends is a West Brom fan. I've seen people on social media, and they think we're going to better. You know, they're that downbeat about that squad. They think we're going to better that 5-1 win. They genuinely think we're going to be knocking 3, 4, or 5 goals past them. And I said to my mate, I says, like, look, like I think it's going to be a lot closer than you expect based on the recent performances that Wolves have been putting in. I think there are fans probably out there that are worried going into this game. Hence why I just do not know what social media is going to be like come Saturday evening if we don't get 3 points out of that game.
Yeah, mate. And what worries me as well, like it's no secret our squad's quite young. And Sam Allardyce, they're basically a championship team, aren't they, Albion? He'll just get them kicking us up in the air. It'll be all like rugged, dirty tactics. And that's what worries me a bit. We've got the quality to beat them, even with this bare squad we've got now. it'd just be nice if like Catrone could start and maybe bag a goal, or if Fabio Silva does start, hopefully, you know, he can get a goal and up his confidence too. But on paper, we should be beating them. But the cliche is, isn't it? Form goes out the window for a derby. So I don't know, man. I'm really nervous about it though. Not confident at all.
Yeah, Sut Lad in the comments said Wolves versus Albion is massive. He supported Wolves home and away for 43 years, and he reckons we're going to beat Albion 2-0 on Saturday. I'd certainly take a 2-0. Clean sheet would be nice as well. A few fans saying it.
Yeah.
Mouldy reckons it's guaranteed to be 0-0 at half time, make it even more tense in the second half. A lot of people going with 0-0. Someone said no Twitter for a year as well if we lose. I think it's genuinely going to be. It's genuinely going to be that toxic. It goes into it. Harry, the situation with the January transfer window at the moment as well. It sounds like it's going to be a quiet month for Wolves. What are the areas that you think Wolves really need to strengthen if we're going to do something this season and be way out of relegation trouble and maybe even mount a challenge for the FA Cup?
Yeah, well, obviously it's striker, isn't it? But the fact they brought Catrone back on loan does make me think we might not actually bring a striker in. Obviously, we've been linked with Josh King and Origi, and I'd love to get Origi in on loan. I know the Liverpool fans really slate him, don't they? They say he's no good, like we're driving to Molineux for you. But someone like him, maybe on loan temporary, like Raul Jimenez, his injury looks horrendous, doesn't it? When they zoomed in on it last night on telly, you just look at him and you think, is he going to be the same when he eventually does come back? So we need a striker, man. That's the main position. Fabio Silva shot with confidence. We don't know if Catrone is going to be capable enough to do it because he's hardly played, has he? So yeah, striker, mate.
I think that's an obvious area. Centre back maybe as well, with the defensive issues going into it as well. So Kieran's gone quite deep. New owners is the way to go. I think he wants the board gone. So I've seen a lot. You know what? He's not the only person I've seen say that. There was Deo on the Fans React yesterday, and a few people on Twitter as well saying that Jeff Shea and Fosun have been the issue. But surely, we would be nowhere near this position that we're in without Fosun.
Exactly, mate. And I think the reason why people are starting to say that a little bit is because I can't remember how long ago it was now. Like Jeff Shea was coming out, wasn't he, saying we're pushing for like that top six. It's all about spending money. And because we've hit like this pandemic and had like a really short preseason and things like that, they kind of come out and said recently, haven't they, like we're settling this year, kind of. That seems to be the messages coming out. And it doesn't look like they're going to spend much money. So I think that's why fans are a bit like, hold on, you said a year or so ago, we're going to throw a lot of money at it, which they kind of have, but we're also selling as well, aren't we? You know what I mean? Obviously selling Jota and people like that. So yeah, I can kind of see why people are saying it. But for me, people just go overboard. Like, you've got to be grateful sometimes. Maybe I'm one of those happy clappers, maybe, but it's the old cliche, isn't it? Look where we've come from. And I know that annoys people, but obviously through our lifetime, it's been really bad the majority of the time. So I'm really grateful for the success we've had in the Fosun and the Nuno era. So that's my opinion on that.
Exactly, and I think there will be. I think Tom said it right at the start. I think it's going to be no disrespect to them, but the slightly younger generation, and I was the same really. If you're sort of 18 or younger, really, for the main part of your sort of life understanding football, Wolves were going to have been a good team. We would have been League One, okay in the Championship, and up to the Premier League and in Europe across those last sort of 6 or 7 years. And as soon as it turns a bit sour, I think that's what you'll jump on it. I was the same when I started getting fully into football. I was saying soul backing out after about 10 games. You know what I mean? I was one of them. So I can understand it, but I think if you actually sit back and sort of see how far Wolves have come in such a short period of time, I think you have to appreciate, and look at the actual squad itself, the injuries, look outside, look at the current situation, what's going on. Why are people going to be wanting to spend hundreds of thousands of millions of pounds? That's the situation we're in at the moment, I think, and people need to realise that, really. But Harry, it's been a pleasure having you on. Fingers crossed. Give us a score prediction ahead of the Albion game. Go on.
Yeah, I've got to be positive, mate, because I can't take a loss. It will hurt my feelings. So I'm going to say we're going to win 2-0, and like the second goal will come late after we've been battering.
Wrap it up late. The pressure. Love that, Harry. Well, thanks a lot for joining us, man, and I'll chat to you very soon, mate. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, man. Cheers. See you in a bit.
See you later, mate. Bye bye. Well, guys, thanks a lot for tuning in and listening today. Like I said, if you missed any part of today's show. Shall I call it a show? If you missed any part of today's show, you can watch it back. It might be processing for a little while on YouTube, and then it will be available to watch back. And I appreciate the numbers have been absolutely fantastic, guys, and all your comments have been fantastic as well. I really appreciate it, and hopefully this is a thing that we'll do sort of quite often now. I think during the midweek games, we can always do it sort of 24 hours after the game. For the weekend game, obviously the game against Albion is early kickoff. We may do that sort of Saturday evening, so be sure to keep your eye out on that on our social media. And if you want to get involved, if you want to be part of these, I love all the guys that have been on today, but I don't just want it to be those four. If you guys want to get involved with this, maybe we could do a longer show, but I want to be chopping and changing the guests all the time. Drop us a message on Twitter, Facebook, or Instagram at Talking Walls, or if you've got me on Twitter, on my personal one at Dave as a party as well. But yeah, really appreciate all the kind words. We've spoke about all sorts. West Brom game coming up, the Everton game, transfers, and Nuno as well. But fingers crossed, we can beat the Albion on Saturday and get 3 points and get back to winning ways. But if you haven't already, be sure to hit that like button, guys, on the stream. Subscribe to Talking Walls. We're very close, if we haven't hit it already, very close to 8,000 subscribers. And it is going to be a regular series, WWFC. And I'll enjoy the rest of your week, guys. And we'll be back for the pre-match West Brom content. Actually, tomorrow. That preview will be out tomorrow. So I'll catch you all very, very soon.